Gonna be hot today.
Gonna be hot tomorrow, too.
Hot yesterday. About to be hot next week. It's not. It's gonna be fucking ice storm and death, probably.
Know anybody could take care of some teenagers?
Hey, you guys, I gotta ask you a question. Know anybody could take care of some teenagers for me? That was such an odd request. That was the first time we were officially hired to put a hit.
Yeah, as hired gunman.
Yeah. I mean, there was always jokes, but nobody ever actually wanted to give us money. And it was like $20 or something, too, wasn't it? He wanted to make it look like an accident. It's like, that's...
And he didn't even want us to do it. He just wanted us to facilitate him with somebody who could.
Yeah.
We were just the go-between.
Yeah, because we look like a couple of guys who know hired murderers.
Hired murderers of teenagers.
Yeah.
The special kind of fucks.
All because they were messing with his truck. It's fucking weird. That was a weird... Is he still alive? He cannot work there anymore.
He doesn't work there, but I see him inside the store every once in a while.
Wow. Did he finally quit or they fire him for incompetence?
I think...
Or for trying to murder teenagers.
I think he's just fucking teenagers. I think he just got too fucked up. Like, he just got too old and just couldn't, because I see him walking around with a cane now and shit, so...
Yeah, he didn't look good last time I saw him, but I assumed he was always just 20. But he just had some kind of old man disease.
He got so, he got so fucked up that he couldn't stand in front of a door.
Or
behind a door.
Yeah, when your job is door greeter and you can't even stand at the door or sit at the door, that's pretty fucking weird. I mean, we had guys up there who just, didn't even have to stand. They just sat in a chair. Remember Herschel?
Oh, man.
He just sat off to the side and didn't even greet anybody. Just swore at people. Fucking kids. Alright. Guess we ought to fucking talk about stuff.
We're kind of talking about stuff.
Oh, shouldn't have drank all that stuff yesterday.
You did drink a lot. Like a whole 6-pack. And then how much of what was that Nate gave you?
He gave me some kind of bourbon, Elijah or something or other.
And then you finished, which was a good, almost half an inch left in the bottle.
Yeah, there was probably 4 shots worth. I was just drinking that straight out of the bottle while we were standing outside. Made me feel kind of like a hoodlum. I liked it. I was brown bagging it. And
then what was your Jameson?
Yeah, I was drinking that too. I drank that when I got home a little bit. And like I said, I watched 5 minutes of Aquaman and passed out. And that was a wrap. That beer was strong too. It was Belgians. So it was
They make a good beer, I've heard.
Yeah, it was very high alcohol content. And I ate a lot of cupcakes too. I think that's what did me in was the cupcakes.
How was your shits?
Sparkly.
I was going to say, was there any glitter in them?
Yeah, I never saw glitter on cupcakes. That was weird. What kind of confectionery has glitter?
And I didn't think...
It wasn't sparkles. It was glitter, what you fucking get everywhere when you go to, a strip club.
I just figured glitter wouldn't be a good thing for you to consume.
No. What if you accidentally breathe a little in? It just goes into your lungs and causes some kind of disease. I guess it doesn't really matter. So I ate the shits. And it was good.
You ate a couple.
Yeah, I had a couple. I had some pizza. Too much pizza.
Well, you only had 2 or 3 slices, right?
Yeah, but there's so much grease on it.
It is a greasy pizza.
Yeah, right. Fucking, it's just intro for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's just do the whole episode's intro, and then at the very end, but welcome to the, and just end it. Turn it off.
I like that episode. I like that idea.
I don't know, our numbers have been going up every week, so I think people like our fucking rambling nonsense at the very beginning. I think that's a good move.
And throughout.
Yeah, and throughout. We don't stay on topic very often. Matter of fact, I think our worst episodes are the ones where we stayed on topic most of the time.
Yeah, right? Oh, what? No.
I ain't listening to this for educational purposes, you fucking buffoons.
I listened to this for 2 assholes to say some fucked up shit.
Yeah, that is apparently what we ended up becoming.
I'm okay with it, to be honest with you.
To be fair, that's what we were all along. Sometimes you just gotta embrace your station in life.
And to be honest, wouldn't that just be the podcast you would prefer to do and just not a podcast solely based on writing?
Oh, yeah.
You just want to do, Rogan just fuck around and talk about bullshit every once in a while.
Yeah, that's usually more entertaining. I mean, like in A Knight's Tale, where his whole thing was a man can change his stars and his position in life. Can you, though?
Right?
You gotta do a lot of work to do that. I fucking don't got time. I'm alright with my position at the bottom of the barrel, floating in the sewage of the world. Oh, let me press a button. Hey there, everybody. This is the DPW podcast. I am your wonderful, majestic host, Caleb James. With me, as always, Spencer, the Nigerian Nightmare Church.
Ooh.
I figure we'd go extra exotic.
I was gonna say something because you name yourself and you're majestic, and whenever you name me, I'm like
you're not majestic.
I'm like the asshole astronaut from someplace. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, you don't usually get the most glamorous names, but it's fitting.
I can't argue that.
You know what? I go with your character, which is exactly what this episode is about.
Yeah.
Today's episode is going to be upon the topic of butt sex and how to... No. Today's episode is all about creating that perfect author persona. I don't have an author persona.
No, me neither.
I should. You should. There's multiple facets of this. I was going to write down a detailed list of what we should talk about, and then we drank a lot last night, and I didn't do any of that. So we're going to wing it, because that's what our fans deserve. Our half-ass attempt to describe this topic in great length.
In depth.
Not detail, just great length. So we're just going to ramble on and on and on.
Don't be surprised if a lot of the answers sound the same.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure nobody's listening to this for advice anyway.
I hope not.
Who the fuck are these guys? Why are they giving us writing advice? Because I want a goddamn Pulitzer, that's why. And then I woke up.
And then in Universe 57...
Yeah. You know what? If there are an infinite set of universes out there, at least one of those universes, we're successful writers.
I hope so.
I would like it to be this one, preferably, but I'll take whatever I can get.
You know what? I'd look for successful anything. Not even just anything.
Just even something as simple, like a fucking cricket player or something.
Something good.
Like the most successful darts guy.
I would so be that darts guy.
Yeah, the bowling man, the best crocheter. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
It was a big...
That was like 3 of them.
It was in there. At least it came out that end. Unlike my dog, his end is rotten today. He was hotboxing me a little bit too, because I was sleeping. He gave me the old Dutch oven. I had the blanket over my head, and his fucking ass slid right under my blanket, and he just ripped dog ass so hard. And it's silent, but I just woke up gagging, what the fuck is that smell? It smelled like if you had a rotten egg inside of a dead fish, and that fucking dead fish had floating down the sewer. It was bad. I just like your dog's ability to be able to sneak into bed with you to bust this said stank bomb. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. He had a vendetta against me, I think. Because like I said, last night I passed out, so I didn't give him much attention. He was in the living room at some point, I think. I don't remember. I was on the couch. You'd think... what would only make that better would be if somehow he was able to bust the dog ass under your sheet, but was able to get out and lay on top of it before you smelted, so you got stuck. Oh. That's grody. Oh, anyway... Personas, images. I don't know any other words I could use for that. My mind's working at half-mast today. I did some writing earlier. Oh, well, that's good. Not really, because the story I was supposed to publish, I was supposed to write it yesterday, and then publish. Actually, I was supposed to write and publish it yesterday as a flash fiction, and I was like, hey, I got book club. I'm going to do a lot of drinking. I'll just, when I get home, do some writing. Yeah, because that's what would obviously happen in that scenario. Clearly that didn't work out. So I was like, you know what? I'll wake up Saturday morning feeling lovely and refreshed, because, that's what happens after a night of hard drinking. And I'll write this story, and I'll publish it at noon. Well, I didn't get out of bed till 11:30, so I was like, well, 3 o'clock's a good time. So I started writing at 2:30. And then I was like, you know what? I should take a nap before the podcast.
I gotta be refreshed.
Yeah, so I wrote till like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then I took a little nap there. And then you texted me that you're coming over.
So you just got up then.
I literally just, like, my phone was in the living room. If I didn't get up because the dog's nasty ass all day, I would have totally missed that. And you would have just came home with me naked in the bed with the dog. It would have been weird.
You just would have left the doors were unlocked like I just walked in?
Oh, fuck. Of course.
Caleb!
Like walking into a horror movie, and then you smell that dog ass smell and think it's a dead body. You're like, oh god, no. Caleb, are you alright in there?
You're not naked, are you? Oh my god!
Yeah, but that long-winded explanation just pretty much led me to I did not finish the story. So maybe after the podcast I'll finish it and post it tonight. I have a story that I should have actually just scheduled that's just been sitting there. I just thought, you know what, I could finish this story. It's a flash fiction. That won't take long, right? But it is long. You were writing something, weren't you?
Yes, I was working on a either flash fiction or a very short story.
I like you're telling me yesterday at the book club, and I really liked the premise of it.
Yeah, what it's about is,
Demons.
But in a way that is, so, like, my kind of, like, little short pitch for Caleb when I told him about it was, like, you know, you think about the, you know, worst part of dying is, you know, going to the hell and being the tortured and reliving all the terrible things you did and all that fun stuff. But, like, imagine the demons that have to put in all the work so that happens to, like, all the trillions of people that would be in hell.
Yeah, you always think of demons as just, oh, yeah, they're the ones torturing you and evil and all this shit. But what if, I mean, we went over a couple things. What if they were at one-time people and that was their hell or something? Regardless, you know, whatever your feelings of that are. What if these demons, pretty much like how when we worked at Walmart, was just fucking awful, and we just hated every day. Well, what if that's the demons, their life? Oh, great! I gotta go clean the fucking ass ripping room.
It's like a 9 to 5 almost to them. But like with them being demons in hell,
endless.
Like there's no. You get like 15 minutes every like
maybe
every
clock
week.
out for lunch once in a while or something.
You get like 15 minutes every week or some shit like that. Like
yeah, there's so much you could do with that story though. You just go on how irritating, because especially if you go like a real strong humor route, you could just describe like a torture room that should be just a horrific scene, but since it's from the demon's point of view, it's just like, oh great, like a guy's hanging upside down or something and he shits himself and explodes or whatever. Like, oh great, that's gonna be fun to clean up.
I was thinking this might be something that I have to like to get like the idea out, and just so we have something, you know, to show to all of our great lovely fans that, you know, like a flash fiction, but then like something to delve in later too.
Yeah, expand on it
and really dive in and dig into it a little bit.
Like I'm just picturing this overly elaborate fucking torture room that somebody has to go to, but before they get there, Satan, the fucking overbearing, you know, micromanaging boss of hell, is just, you know, he has the demon. He's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And they're just sitting there, oh, how the fuck are we going to pull this off in time? Maybe the fucking person who goes to hell gets there and it's not done yet. They're like, you got to sit over there, buddy.
There's no way in hell this will get done.
Should probably get back on topic. Author personas. What the basis of this was, I was reading or watching something about Hemingway. Forget what it was. But, you know, like Hemingway, he was kind of the originator, I would say, of like a real author persona, because he was one of the first authors, other than maybe Edgar Allan Poe, who was real famous, or just as famous for their writing as they were for their real life. Everyone knows Hemingway was the manly man. He went on all kinds of fucking crazy adventures all around the world, was in wars and shot shit and did all kinds of wild stuff. So that's when you think of Hemingway, you always think of that.
Always rocking a mad beard.
Yeah, always rocking the mad beard or the mustache. And then, you know, we always cover Hunter S. Thompson on here. Well, he was the fucking madman. He was a wild, fucking drug-fueled beast of a man who did all kinds of crazy shit, and he went all around the world.
The people that that people know but have never read any of their work.
Yeah, you know more about the author in some of these cases than you do their work. Now, Stephen King, Stephen King is the kind of example where most people know his work, but they still associate Stephen King with horror, even though he has a lot of books that aren't horror. But, he's the master of horror, the fucking greatest storyteller. So that's his author persona. And in the 80s, obviously, Cocaine Maniac.
Yeah.
And then, we off air, we were touching on, like, Chuck Palahniuk, how he has, like, Fight Club, so that's kind of his persona. And I think Kurt Vonnegut, he was, I think, a struggling writer at one point. And I want to say he worked for, like, an ad agency or something, so he kind of knew how to market things, so he marketed himself as, like, this kind of offbeat guy. That's what brought his audience, was that persona he had, even though his writing ability stayed the same. So I kind of wanted to discuss, like, what do you think is, like, how important do you think an author persona is to success? Because it's almost like a wrestling gimmick, where you could be the best, professional wrestler in the business, like, ability-wise, but if you don't have a gimmick that draws the fans in, nobody gives a shit.
I mean, I guess that's going to vary from case to case for each person, and what you want to get out of your career. Before the show, you told me when we were going over ideas for the episode, you mentioned, like, somebody may not be, like, you were talking about Palahniuk, like, he couldn't write a romance novel if he really wanted to, because people wouldn't probably dig it, because they wouldn't associate that with him.
Yeah, just because it's Chuck Palahniuk, they would, even if he wrote it really well, they just might not dive into it like they would because it's him.
But that made me think of, like, all those authors that get stuck, and, like, romance seems like one of those genres. Once you get known for that, it's hard to do anything else. Like, you got, like, your Nicholas Sparkses and your Danielle Steeles, who even write different kind of stories, but, like, if somebody told you, like, Danielle Steele got a new book coming out, which is highly likely, she has, like, 3 of them a month now, it seems like. But you, like, your first thought is like, I bet that's some kind of romance kind, even though that it might not be.
Well, like, if Nicholas Spark wanted to write a really, like, a gory gothic horror story, how many people are going to go to that if they see his name on it?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he would get readers just because they'd be interested if he could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, you'd get his fans that would be like, well, it's a Nicholas Sparks book, I'm going to buy it.
But also, what if that turns off Nicholas Sparks fans because that's not why they read his books?
That's a fair point.
I feel like Stephen King gets that every once in a while when he puts out, like, not necessarily a non-horror book, but say the Elevation book.
Yeah.
When I was reading the reviews on that, I thought it was a good story, but it wasn't a horror story. It was a little supernatural, but not too much. And it was more of a, I don't know how you'd classify that. I mean, it had a happy ending kind of and everything like that. But a lot of the Stephen King fans, he doesn't have it anymore, and he's writing kind of, shit like this. It actually turned off his core audience that are used to, fucking It and Pet Sematary.
I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
And I think a lot of, like, Stephen King's best work is, like, his Shawshanks, his Green Miles.
Yeah, with supernatural elements, but not necessarily horror or anything like that. But I think a lot of writers do fall into that category. Think about all the science fiction authors from the past who might, or who wrote things that weren't science fiction, but that's what they're known for. So their non-science fiction work just doesn't get the acclaim it probably should.
So, like, I guess, like, if that's something like the science fiction, if that's, like, if you go in, like, I just want to write sci-fi, that's all, like, I got stories, and I'm not worried about, like, dramas or, like, crime stories or anything like that. I just want to be, like, a sci-fi writer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it might, would help to build up a certain kind of persona and like a gimmick. But again, it's still tricky because if you do it too much, people might, like, see through it, and like, that's not. I don't like whenever you you get it in music a lot, or stand up, and you're like, this person isn't being themselves or real. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have that. You lose that kind of connection to them, and I think that could hurt readers to to get into your work sometimes. Or they might get into but then have any lasting power with them.
Right. Well, there's a couple things that can hinder you. Like you said, if your author persona is too strong or your gimmick is too strong and that's all people know you for instance, like Hemingway with the super manly macho man, well, if he decided to write a sci-fi story or a romantic comedy or something, his work might not have got that kind of attention.
He would have to do it like Stephen King did.
Use a pseudonym.
Yeah, and when he did the Richard Bachman books. Now, granted, once you kind of read those, these seem like Stephen King books, but I'm sure there's there's probably countless stories of famous authors using different names for
different genres. That used to be actually pretty prevalent back in the day. Here's one that I always got, I always thought was a little strange. J.K. Rowling. I wouldn't say she really has too much of an author persona. Because, when you think of J.K. Rowling, you just think of Harry Potter. Yeah. So that's kind of one of those ones where it's more like she is too intertwined with the work that made her popular.
Yeah. And this is no dig against her. I'm just not that familiar with her work. If she's written much of anything,
I think she has some books outside of Harry Potter that are more adult themed and stuff, but I don't think
just don't,
because again she got too intertwined with the Harry Potter, which is obviously made her a billionaire. So I take it, but
work out for her, But
think if you're J.K. Rowling and you want to write an you want to write an adult book with adult themes that has nothing to do with magic or Harry Potter or anything like that, and people see your name on that book. It might be a hard sell.
Yeah, or they might make the mistake of getting it for their kid or something, and then you have to deal with that because the parents are dumb enough to not check to see what it's about.
Yes, it's just really tricky. And especially now, I feel like having an author persona with so many writers and up-and-coming writers out there, and then with Twitter and social media, I think it's more important than ever to have a real solid author persona. So when people say go to your Twitter profile or your website, they can see what you're about, can kind of say, okay, I kind of know what his work is going to be like just based off of how he presents himself. But that's a really hard thing to build. Like we were saying earlier, for me, I don't have much of an author persona, but at the same time, I like to write any kind of fiction.
Yeah, that's why would be my main negative against. Well, again, it's the difference between having a persona and having a presence on all the social media, so your fans or the other writers and stuff can get to know you, other than having a quote unquote gimmick, because I want to be known for whatever work it is.
Yeah, that you're putting out.
If that's a sci-fi, if that's a horror, if it's a comedy,
See, but I feel like the more successful you get and the more readers you get, you will start to get pushed into certain directions. So say your sci-fi stories get more popular than your horror writing. You get pushed more into sci-fi, maybe even start writing more sci-fi because that's what's doing well.
Yeah.
And then that's how you kind of get pigeonholed into a genre. And if you go through Twitter, I've noticed just my followers over the last year or so, I've seen a lot of writers start shifting. You see them grow as a writer and they start shifting into certain directions. And then they're all of a sudden they're creating their own author persona. And you'll see a lot of their little bios. They get really specific. I'm an LGBTQ writer and I write vampire fantasy fiction. It's very specific. I don't do that.
No,
I really don't want to get pigeonholed in a genre or have people think, oh, that's Caleb James. He is known for writing, old-timey literary fuck fiction. Yeah. he's known for James Joyce fart fiction. Fart fan fiction.
Oh. Yeah, because then too, just because you might have wrote a good story or something like that in that genre, you don't want to get pigeonholed into that. Just because we're talking about wanting to do different kind of stories, but then you might not like writing that kind of story. That kind of story might be a pain in your ass to write, but that's the only thing people are going to buy of your stuff.
Well, there's some writers who have absolutely hated the work that made them famous. And they don't hate it because it made them famous. They hate it because they didn't like the story. Like in the old days when you'd put out something, if you had a publisher and an agent and stuff, it was almost like you didn't have much of a choice to put it out. I mean, you obviously could say no, but you want to get paid.
Yeah.
So it's going out, and then they get known for that, and then they fucking hated it. And that brings up kind of a different question, too. If you want to go the traditional publishing route and get an agent, again, with that author persona, a lot of times one of their questions, well, what kind of fiction do you write?
Yeah.
Because a publisher...
So they know how to market you.
Yeah, just a marketing standpoint, it makes sense, though. It's a lot easier to, say, hey, this guy got good sci-fi writer versus, this guy, I mean, he just writes everything, but, he has good sci-fi stories. No, they just, yep, got a new sci-fi writer. And then they'll send you to a publisher that mainly does sci-fi work and things. It's just easier to present it that way. And maybe our opinion on this will change over the years because, like, as of now, we're still... I would say testing the waters and different, grounds and building up our fiction to the point now where we're going to start releasing work here. But at the same time, I think by next year we'll probably have more direction in where we go as writers. I'm worried that we'll end up getting ourselves put into a specific genre. Because I like writing horror stories, but I definitely wouldn't want to be known just as a horror writer. And I don't do a lot of sci-fi or like fantasy or anything, but some of the stories I had that had those elements always seem to do better just because of our readers. That's what they like. But do you let the audience dictate what you write? That's like the age-old question. If you knew, like say your audience really likes your horror writing, if you knew that's what's going to bring in more readers, more success, more money your way, is that what you're going to end up focusing on? If you want a career, I would say yes.
I think for us, like if we're just going on us right now, at our point, you would have to go yes, because to get paid anything by somebody that's not ourselves, for something that we've done,
we'd be fucking happy. But that's the thing. That's how it starts, though, because you get. At this stage in the game, you're kind of gonna take whatever you can get.
Yeah.
So if somebody offers you, to publish a story of yours, you'd be like, fuck yeah. But then, you start building up, and all of a sudden you realize it's only the horror stories people want to publish. And then, down the road, all of a sudden you're a horror writer and that wasn't your initial goal. You might start to kind of resent it.
Well, I think you would have to be very mindful at where you're at times and to do, like, what I would do, or what I would try to do, this is, what the fuck do I know? But I would think you would have to try to, like, if you were starting to get known as the horror guy and you didn't want that, put out a different kind of story. It might not get a lot of, it might not get a lot of good reviews or something like that, but you kind of put it out there, and then you write a couple more of your horror stories, and then you put another story out. Like, you kind of just slowly, in between the horror stuff,
like, hey, I can do this too.
Yeah, try to build up other facets of your writing skills, and then maybe you get the horror guys that like you, so they're like, oh, he got this other book, I'll check it out. Oh, it's good too. Or then you might be able to get other fans from those other genres, and then they see that, and then they see all your other work in this horror, and they might not be a big horror guy, but they like the other work that you've done, so they might go and try some other of your stuff.
It almost goes with, like, actors who are really good singers.
Yeah.
And they want to do both, or maybe, sometimes you see singers who... that's what they want to do, but they don't make it, but they make it as actors. And then eventually, like a Justin Timberlake, he kind of was a famous singer first, wanted to be an actor. That's the reverse. He managed to pull it off, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. So, like, that could happen to you in writing, though. Maybe you really, really want to be a horror writer, but everybody likes your sci-fi, and no matter how much horror you put out, you just don't seem to get that audience.
I was trying to steal my... what I was just saying is because I was thinking of how Rogan always talks about whenever they started out doing comedy, you just do whatever you could do to get a laugh.
Yeah.
So basically, write anything that can get you published, until you get you get some years in, you get a bit of a following, and then you get to the point where you feel like I can branch out and like I can have actual thoughts / stories that I want to tell in different aspects if I do good enough that the fan base will want to.
Well, I think stand-up is a great thing to compare it to because, say, like an Andrew Dice Clay. When you think of his stand-up, you think of the knick-knack, paddywhack, suck a dick, oh, that dumb shit. Well, if he changed up his comedy act, probably wouldn't get... I mean, as of now, he's not a huge stand-up comedian anymore, but at one time he's like the most famous guy, but he kind of got pigeonholed in that gimmick.
Did you know that was just... like a character?
Yeah, was
one of his characters in a whole, he'd have, 3 or 4 characters.
Well, it's like Larry the Cable Guy. That's a character.
Yeah.
Like, that was just a complete character. His name's like Bill or something. And he started off as a normal comedian, and then he created that character, and that's what blew up. And think of Larry the Cable Guy. Like, yeah, he has huge success, but if he wanted to do a normal stand-up as, like, Bill again, or whatever his name was, I don't think he probably wouldn't be successful.
No. Or he'd have to do... Bill, whatever his name is, the cable guy. Kind of like how, even now to a point, The Rock has to have,
He's still The Rock.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I
guess what it comes down to is, once you start getting some success, you just stay in your lane. Once you get known as a certain kind of author, do you just stay in that lane and milk the success? And then maybe if you're lucky, you can go like a Stephen King route when you get more famous or successful and start putting out different work.
What would be nice is the goal would be to make enough money doing what maybe you've got pigeonholed into that you got a bit of fuck you money.
Yeah,
to where you can put out a book and you're not worried about okay, if this doesn't sell so many copies, I am screwed. You're able to, you don't want a book to bomb, but it's not gonna bankrupt you if it doesn't do the greatest.
Kind of going back to creating, that author persona, I think one of the most important thing, you touched on at the very beginning, you kind of have to be yourself. I mean, maybe, you want to kind of exaggerate it. Whatever, if you're a real funny guy, I see a lot of Twitter writers, they go kind of the funny guy route. Yeah. So they're always posting jokes and stuff, and they're trying to be the funny guy, and then they're also a writer. Maybe, probably in real life, they're pretty funny. And so what they did was they kind of exaggerated that. Maybe a lot of their work has humor elements into it. That's a great way to bring an audience. Or, say you're, we're always going back to the horror guy. You're a horror writer. Well, maybe you kind of... Like a Dirk Manning, he kind of has the side persona where he's a mysterious, his picture, he has his face covered, the big hat, and he writes. But
if you go to a convention,
yeah, you talk to him.
He's just in a normal clothes.
Yeah, he's a normal dude. He does fucking karaoke and shit. But
loves ice cream.
Yeah, but his persona, just what to get the readers initially interested, is almost like a Lord of Darkness type of persona.
Yeah. Or he has this because in his persona, he has this scarf that covers up the bottom half of his face, and a big top hat. But like we said, he doesn't wear those things at conventions. But to say if you got a picture with him, he'd either take his hand,
cover
a copy of his comic or something, and cover up the bottom half of his face to kind of play within the gimmick, to even the point that the other people in the pictures would do the same thing, cover the bottom half of their face, and and take a selfie.
I mean, it's a simple thing, but just creating that gimmick, I mean, that's brought an audience to him. Like we were saying, what's really good with him is he's not really, that's not who he is as a person. He's not some fucking mysterious weird guy. Yeah. That's just his gimmick. After bringing the readers in, they get to know him, and then they get invested in who he is as a person. You go on his Facebook, you watch his videos that he posts and stuff, and he's just a cool dude.
And then that gives you even more fun to have with the gimmick, because then they also know that it's not this serious thing. It's kind of like a long-running joke that you have with your audience.
The main thing to avoid getting pigeonholed, you can take on a gimmick, but don't let the gimmick take you.
Yeah.
Do not let the gimmick become you, because once you're known for something and then that you have to play up to it all the time, like Colonel Sanders, he was the Colonel. Yeah. When he finally got famous, he would not leave the house unless he was wearing the fucking Colonel Sanders outfit. But now people, they don't even realize he was a real dude. He was actually playing this Colonel Sanders character all the time. You don't want that. You want to be a real dude. You just want people to get interested in you because of your persona, but then they want to dig deeper and find out there's more to it. Yeah. If you're just a surface level, if your persona is just this surface level, weirdness or whatever it is, once people dig deeper, if there's nothing there, they're going to be disappointed. I would say be yourself and just kind of exaggerate your good points. You do want some direction. So say you want to be known as a romance writer, you definitely want to steer like your online, your groups, the people like you who you follow and the things you're associated with. You want to steer that to romance, towards romance a little bit, so you bring in that audience. But I would say, unless you 100% want to be a romance writer and that's it, nothing else, you don't want to dive so hard into that you can't get back out. So I would say it's like the shallow end. Stay in the shallow end. Don't go too far in the deep end, because once you take that plunge, you're committed to that one thing. So if you want to be the horror guy, fine, you can commit to that, but just know if you get popular enough and then you decide you want to write sci-fi or something, or romantic comedy, people might not enjoy it or not even give it a chance, because, well, what the fuck? I like him for this work. I don't want to see him do... Like, musicians get that all the time when they try something new. Like, say you had a fucking Metallica back in the day. They wanted to switch up and try folk rock. People were going to be like, what the fuck? Get out of here. No.
I thought he was going to go with, like, that time Kenny G tried to drop a rap album.
Did Kenny G drop a rap album?
No, but that would be great.
Yeah, see, his fans would be turned off immediately. What other advice would you give for people creating that perfect persona that we don't have? I do feel like we're starting to get in that direction, though. Because, like, just with the drunken pen writing, we kind of have the...
buffoonery?
Yeah, we get a little bit of buffoonery, but I like to think we have a kind of a sophisticated buffoonery. Because between, drinking and being stupid, we do bring some elements of actual merit to the world.
Dudex? The dude?
The dude, yeah, kind of the dude. Yeah, the big Lebowski.
We just don't ever drink any White Russians is all.
Can't drink milk, man.
Oh, yes.
Makes my throat swell up. I'll die on air. Everybody will cry.
Could you do what about like soy milk? Can you drink soy milk?
Yeah, soy milk.
I wonder, can you do a White Russian with soy milk?
Let's see why not. It'd be just as disgusting as it probably is normally. I don't want milk in my fucking alcohol.
It's not bad. I'm not a big like super drinker like you are.
Your fucking drink of choice would be a White Russian.
I've tried it before.
What's in a White Russian? Fucking Kahlua or something? I don't know.
I think so. I don't know. My brother made it for me one time. Some kind of cream
liquor and milk.
My brother made it for me one time, and it was good. And then I blew his mind. I was like, what about if you did a White Russian with chocolate milk?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Chocolate Russian.
I didn't think he said it tasted okay, but probably preferred the normal white.
I don't know. And Big Lebowski always drank White Russians. I always thought it looked disgusting. Of course, he always had it all over his mustache.
Yeah. It's just dripping.
Yeah, I think there's vodka in it. I'm not a big vodka guy. I don't know. I'm sure it's delicious. It's one of the few drinks I haven't tried.
Because it could kill you.
Yeah, because I don't want to die. That's a shitty allergy to have. You can't eat ice cream, and I love ice cream. And sometimes I'll just fucking go for it. Take a shitload of Benadryl and just kind of let my face swell up a little bit. But you know what? I might have a couple sips of milkshake. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, digging it. Oh, get up in that ass. But yeah, I think we're kind of steering ourselves towards at least a little bit, not necessarily a gimmick, but kind of what people know us for. And then, at least, I like to think now where I'm at the point where if you read something on the site, you could distinguish between my work, your work, somebody else's work.
Yeah.
There's obviously still a lot of fine-tuning we're doing. But I think that's one thing. I think we're definitely doing it the right way, because I see a lot of authors, literally within like the first year, they're trying to fucking, shop around a novel. Obviously, it doesn't do well because they're not experienced enough. And then they self-publish it, and if you read it, it's usually garbage. Like, build yourself up. Start with flash fiction. Start with short stories. Really build your skills to tell.
Put the legwork in.
Yeah, really.
The time, the effort.
You have to be able to tell a story and write it properly. You have to know your grammatical rules and things like that. But more importantly, you have to be able to tell a story in a way that the reader is going to enjoy. Until you could do that, you shouldn't be putting out fucking, trying to sell novels, self-published 300-page novels on Amazon. Because you're not going to build an audience that way. Start small. That's a little side topic, but that's also a good way to build your author persona, because people read your short stories. They kind of get a feel for how you think. And then you just build upon that, and eventually, you might get known for, say, one kind of fiction over another, but when you're starting out, that's not such a bad thing, as long as you're getting readers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than just being yourself and kind of playing up your natural attributes, building up the social media following, that's the tough one, like, for me, because I generally don't care that much about, like, what people, like, I like interacting with people, like, for instance, on Twitter, I like talking to people, that's what I enjoy, but when it comes, like, just the fucking random bullshit pleasantries that you're supposed to put out, like, asking fucking dumb questions, like, hey, does your protagonist like chocolate milk or white milk? Like, who the fuck cares?
Making polls.
Yeah, I see that all the time because they just want to get people to comment and like and grow their audience. I get it, but that's not doing you any favors. Like, put out real content. Like, put out fucking some excerpts from your story. Ask fucking pertinent questions that might actually make people think. Like, that's at least what I try to do. I mean, sometimes I'll play the fucking, stupid question game or, comment on some people's stuff that I might not necessarily care about too much. Just to try to keep those connections tight. But when it comes to building up your, like, social media, I think that's probably one of the most important things for an author, but also one of the most detrimental. Because if you're fucking, like, a lot of people I see, they're on Twitter nonstop all day. And they might get 5,000 followers in a couple months, but what the fuck are you writing?
Yeah, you don't have anything to show them.
What's the point of having 10,000 followers on Twitter if you don't have anything to share with them other than,
this is what I ate today.
Yeah, it's what does your main character eat? What's his favorite food? What is his or her, is him and her left-handed or right-handed? Like, who the fuck? Nobody cares. I feel like people use that as a distraction. They go on there and they just try to make up random bullshit.
They call it work.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to be a writer but don't want to write. They just like the romanticized version of, hey, I'm a writer, and people look at them like, oh shit, this guy's a writer. That's something not everybody could do. That's pretty impressive. But anybody could just say they're a writer.
You're basically talking about Brian the dog from Family Guy.
Yeah. Fucking always working on his novel in a Starbucks. Everybody can see him, but he's just trash and he never puts anything out. Yeah, I don't get that behavior. If you're a writer, sit down and fucking write. Do the goddamn work. Because even if you, like, one thing I will do, if I'm having a hard time writing, or, you just go through those little patches where you're just like, you're sitting there and nothing is coming out of your head. Even if you have the ideas, you just can't put them down. I don't use Twitter as an escape. Like, I don't go, you know what, I'm just going to go on Twitter and fuck around until I feel like writing. No. Because when you get in that habit, that's how you end up like these fucks who are on Twitter all day and write 100 words a week. That's not being a writer. That's just being a jackass. Some of those people have really solid author personas. People are like, oh yeah, I know this lady. She's a romance writer and she, she's going to all these conventions and doing all this stuff. Yeah, she doesn't have a book out. She doesn't have fucking short stories you could read.
Have you read any of her stuff yet?
Yeah. She has one collection that's out, and the reviews for them are all awful.
That you can read digitally.
Yeah. Everything on there is full of spelling and grammatical errors. I think it all comes down to how serious you want to take it. Like, there's some writers who are not only excellent writers, but they do put in the work, and they do their best, and they never sell shit because they have zero author persona. Nobody knows. Nobody cares about them. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where you have like a fucking Stephanie Meyer who, people know her as the fuck fiction writer or, Twilight or whatever. Vampire fuck fiction. So they know her for that. And like she created an author persona off of that. But at the same time, is she that talented? It's debatable.
Time will tell.
I say the writing tells, and the writing says, phooey! I shun you, lady. I shun your Twilight series. I don't think it's good. I think it was written poorly.
That turned quick.
And everybody that bought that book and said it was great, I don't want you to read my books.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of people not reading your books.
Well, I don't think they'd read my work anyway. I'm not saying I'm some kind of fucking lyrical genius of sorts. I feel like the people that read Twilight probably would not read the work we're putting out. Unless we put out fuck fiction or something.
Which,
I think that the audience that loved Twilight went to 50 Shades of Grey.
But they got nothing now, though, I think.
Well, also, we don't write for teenage girls.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody has their lane. Like, I don't hate Stephanie Meyer for writing Twilight. I don't hate her audience for reading Twilight. But I don't like when adults read Twilight and they say that's great because you're just talking bull honky.
You know what grinds my goddamn gears is seeing adults, like there are certain people in like where we used to work at, they're like 26 and they're reading young adult fiction. That shit just like read something that I don't
read your age level. Something
like that. Yeah, like I don't get it. And I mean like I understand there's certain things like Harry Potter. Like I could see like a grown person maybe
that's
reading
different.
But
like the fucking 28-year-old reading the Divergent series.
Yeah, like that just seems off to me for some reason. And it's always a series.
Oh yeah,
it's a series of at least 3 books that I've noticed, and there's so many of them. I don't understand. Like
they're all written the same. I don't know if you ever peeked at some of them, but the quality is like the same across the board. It's just this. I think it's because I think the reason why you'll see a lot of adults, usually adult women too. I noticed that'll read that stuff. Is because it's the same story that they like, and it's kind of easy reading, so they don't have to be too invested or pay a lot of attention. They just kind of, you could read fucking probably 10 chapters in like 20 minutes.
And then they get done and like, ooh, I just read a book. They get the satisfaction of finishing a book, but not really.
I won't shit on anybody who's reading, but I will say you're probably not the most serious of readers if you're reading that, which is fine. Again, not everybody has to like the same things. You like young adult, whatever. But it is a little discerning when you are a writer and, you say you struggle really hard to put together something real solid, really well written, and then you go to like a bookstore and the top selling book of the month is like, fucking Flatulence the Conqueror, and it's some fucking young adult fiction, like dealing with, man saves woman falls in love with man.
Birth fart, apparently. Yeah. I mean, it's in the title.
Yeah. Almost none, like, very few words in the book are more than 8 letters long. I don't dig it. I understand where I don't have the same anger as you do, maybe. My anger lies with the praising of mediocrity. Yes. That's what I don't like. And that goes with all facets of life. When you have fucking Cardi B winning rap album of the year at the Grammys, you could go suck a big fat dick world if you're voting for that shit.
I haven't even listened to any new rap.
It's terrible.
But in decades, but yet I still know that Cardi B
is a no. I hate mediocrity when it's praised and wins awards and shit, because I guess it's a popularity contest, but why is it even popular to begin with? Why does fucking 50 Shades of Grey get 3 movies? Terribly made movies from terribly made books, and everybody knew it was going to be terrible, yet they all bought it. I just don't understand. Pisses me off. Pisses me right the fudge off.
Ooh.
Fudge. Fudge and pancakes.
Flapjacks.
Flapjacks. Anyway, so you got to have an author persona, and you got to write well, and you can't be like a Cardi B because that's if you want to just make money, fuck it. That's it. Here's another one. You want to be just making shitloads of money as a writer?
If you can make a weird sound with your mouth.
Yeah, you just want to say or whatever dumb shit she says.
You can end up on a Pepsi Super Bowl commercial with Little John and Stephen Carell.
Sorry, my soul was leaving my body.
Yeah, because that's what you don't want to have your writer profile and end up like Little John, where the only thing you can say is, or okay, but you can't say any other words now.
But if you get millions of dollars to do that, do you care? Again,
he did it. Does he still get millions of dollars now? They probably gave him $50 and a 6-pack of Pepsi to be in that goddamn commercial.
Yeah, but he's so rich now. I don't think it matters.
You think Little John spent his money well?
I think
he invested in stock portfolios?
I know he 100% did, because that was just a gimmick, Spencer.
You think?
That's not Little John. That's a gimmick.
Is it didn't Dave Chappelle do a skit?
Yeah, where he's all sophisticated and shit. I think I just realized the difference between people, I'll say us versus a Stephanie Meyer or those kind of people, or anybody that's just writing for money, is there's a big difference between people who write just for the sake of creating art and putting something good into the world, and people who just want to make money or get noticed or get attention. So, like, if you go through Twitter, I would say 90% of the fucking writers I've seen on there, they just, that goes with the whole, why does your main character like to wash the dishes or like to do laundry more? Like, that kind of shit is just trying to get attention. I think that's what a lot of writers that get into it do, is like I said earlier, you know, the romanticized Brian Griffin fucking writer, is you just want people to think you're a writer because you like the attention it brings you. And maybe if you get money from doing it, that would be awesome too, but you don't really care about creating art.
But so by that logic, are you trying to say that we're artists?
I would say so.
Are we artisanal?
Artisanal? Do we create images in the mind from nothing more than mere black smears on a page?
Probably very poorly.
Yeah. But we still try.
But we're getting there.
Well, I think that's why you could separate a Stephen King from a Stephanie Meyer. Because Stephen King is putting some fucking work in.
Even now.
To put out some shit that'll last. Like, you read a Stephen King novel, scenes from that novel will stick with you for life. You go read the whole fucking Twilight series 5 times in a row, and you might not even remember the fucking main character's name a year later.
Because Stephen King, he doesn't have to write another fucking word.
No, so
ever.
But you can tell he's writing because he loves writing.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Somebody that loves writing, they're always going to write, whether they're fucking famous or not, whether they make it, you know, as they become a successful writer or not, you're always going to write. Like, till the day I die, unless something fucking really weird happens, I'm probably just going to write no matter where I make it in the fucking writing world.
And as I mentioned before, Mr. King has the ultimate fuck you money. Yeah. So, like, he can put out that little levitation book and, like, if people be like, oh,
people shit on it? Oh, fuck it.
I don't care. I liked writing it. It was fun. I thought the story was neat. They published it. I got some money. And, okay, here's another volume to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome to be able to do that.
Here is Misery Part 2.
Misery. I just don't like a lot of things in this world, Spencer.
So many. I feel like there's more that I don't like than I do.
That's what happens when you get older. When you're young and fresh, and the world has not opened itself to you yet, you think everything's sunshine and rainbows. But as you age, that sunshine and rainbow turns into a cloud.
When you were a kid, did you think it was sunshine and rainbows?
No, my childhood was awful. All I saw was fucking scum and vile dirt, bottom dregs of society. A world so dark and bleak. Man's heart bleeds and doesn't stop.
Did you grow up in Gotham?
Kind of. Washington. It's very similar looking. Look outside right now. Everything's gray.
Yeah.
It's like 70-something degrees out, but it's just gray and ugly, and I don't want to go outside.
And would you be sad surprised if you saw somebody running around in a batsuit trying to punch people in the face?
There's a reason why fucking Pittsburgh was used in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
It's just a gloomy, shitty... It's perfect for Gotham. I don't know if we touched on everything I wanted to touch on or not, but I think we did an adequate job.
Well, can you think of anything else? I mean, you got, like...
Unless you want me to go on another diatribe about things I dislike or something. About 57 minutes into this bad bitch. After I take out 20 minutes of awful filler, though, it won't be as long.
You can leave some of the filler in.
I always leave some of the filler in. Usually there's an intro to the intro to the intro. So at some point, I have to take one of those out. I usually pick the funniest one and keep in. And then, so sometimes you just got it. Sometimes I keep them all. Just fuck it. That's how we're feeling.
We could take, you could take one of those and just do it at the back and have that be like the after credit scene.
Yeah, that's true. I could always do that.
Marvel style. It worked for them. It can work for us.
Well,
10 years of DPW. Can I hear it?
Well, we could always end this episode and just do a drunken bullshit episode. Fuck it. Unless you got something to do, I don't.
I mean, no, I was planning on getting something to eat and sleeping here soon, but that's it. I mean, nothing.
Pretty bold of you to say you're going to sleep in my house, but okay.
Well, I mean,
that's where you use the comma.
Oh.
Sleeping here soon. Wait a minute. All right, folks. I hope that you found something useful from this, other than us and our dislike for Twilight, which we probably talk about more than we should. I feel Like, we should invest our time in positive energy and not hating on things. But it's so hard not to be like, put yourself in the Seinfeld universe and just hating everything. Because it's so easy.
That's my bread and butter.
Yeah, it's just so easy to point out things that suck. And it's a lot harder to praise the things that are good. I'll leave you folks on that note.